name is Paul, as I'm sure you know by now, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you might be forgiven for thinking this episode looks terrible, because this is a recovered and reconstructed episode taken, discovered from the archives, lost to the mists of time, and we're going to talk about something very similar to that in this episode. But before we do that, I think we should put this episode through a recovery process and see if we can get it looking a little bit shinier. Ah, there you go, back to normal. Amazing. Can't do that with AI,
I'm
can
astonished.
You? Well, yeah, you should be, yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. That's like video magic, that is, Jeff.
Yep, that's it.
Good grief.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to figure out that? And knock that one up this morning over me breakfast. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm taking the piss. It's great, though, mate. I like it. Yeah.
Well, we're here today to talk about the animated Doctor Who episodes.
Because why not?
Or why not? And well, they're mostly all done off missing episodes, aren't they? Using tellysnaps and bits of perhaps on-screen recording and things like that. So, as you know, any self-respecting Whovian will know, there are 96 missing episodes at the moment.
There's a lot anyway, isn't there? There's still quite a few to be found.
Yeah, it's just under 100, and every year. So the missing episodes are missing because back in the day, the BBC, well, most places, had no real future sight. Forward sight, yes,
future
towards
sights. We'll go with that.
TV, cinema, any of it.
Vision.
Certainly not, video.
It's run by bean counters.
Yes, and to literally save space at the BBC, shelves of stuff was just trashed. Doctor Who, all sorts of things.
Throw it in the skip, mate.
Yeah, it
all of that
was,
stuff. Throw it in the skip.
Yeah,
that's what we want. There's a big skip outside. Terence Rattigan and his lorries are rolling up right now. Chuck all the videos in that, mate. That's what we do. What, all of them, Governor? Yeah, the whole bloody lot of them. All of them. What, including Z-Cars? Including Z-Cars. What, in there, Doctor Who? Including Doctor Who. And what about that other thing you fancy on a Sunday night that you watch on your own by yourself in your living room? Yeah, leave that. That's fine, yeah. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll take that home with me. You don't worry about that one. That's my special collection. Thank you very much. Yeah. But everything else, in the skip, mate. Throw it in the skip. Right out, Governor. No problem. That's exactly what it was like. I've got the transcripts and everything.
That was long.
That was long.
Long, yeah. So yeah, they did exactly like that and got rid of it.
Exactly like that.
And then over the years, episodes have been kind of reconstructed, haven't they? There's been audio recordings that people took off their TV back when they broadcast tellysnaps, bits of film, and then over time episodes have been discovered, haven't they?
They have.
In literally
the weirdest of
places, on a shelf in a tin. Labelled as something else in a shed at a TV station in Ghana or something. It really is like the most bizarre place that you'd ever think to find Doctor Who. But that's what's enabled these reconstructions to be achieved and some episodes to be recovered. So I won't go into it all now, but yeah, there's about 100, just under 100 that are still missing.
It's a constantly shifting figure anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
because like you said, they do occasionally discover one or two in an old TV station or somebody's kitchen.
The last time I remember anything being found and coming back out was in to time in with the 50th, when a couple of Troughton stories came out.
Troughton. We had Web of Fear, didn't we? Yeah. And what was the other one? Enemy of the World. Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, so I remember that. But every year there's rumours, that something's been found, and rumours that someone who has previously found lost episodes is hoarding a few.
It's like common fan mythology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the legend of the lost episodes, the lost archives of Doctor Who. Somebody has them somewhere. Yeah. Somebody's sitting on the Web of Fear Part 3, or somebody's literally just hoarding the 10th Planet Episode 4.
And just try not to be a twat, basically. If this
is you, don't be a twat.
Yeah. if you've got it, then
Give it up.
give it up. I'm sure the BBC would pay something for it, but you're denying thousands or millions of people
You selfish bastard.
the excitement of seeing it, and for what end game? Because no one knows who you are.
Mine.
Yeah,
it's mine. Nobody
not
else is
like
going to
you're
get it.
known, so
Fuckers.
silly.
Nobody deserves to look at this. The fans are all stupid. Yeah.
So there's been quite a run of animated episodes over the last couple of years, haven't there?
Yes. Yes, there has. Yes.
So I've seen some of them, but you've seen everything.
I won't say everything. No, actually, I have seen them all. Apart from, do you know what? I was looking at my list, and the one I haven't actually sat through because it is still reaches out for one of them off his shelf. Look at this. Is actually the Abominable Snowman. That's still in its shiny cling film packet. I haven't actually opened it yet. I don't know why. I just haven't got round to it. I'm waiting for that special day, possibly.
Well, I said to you a while ago, I stopped ordering them because I was waiting for the collection set. Because obviously,
well, there is that as well.
Yeah, they'll be on there for certain.
But what if they're not?
Well,
then you're going to look pretty stupid, right?
But it's not the collection, then, is it? They'll have to rename it the Incompletion.
Incompletion. Yeah, it'll have to be something like that.
Yeah.
So I think you're kind of talking about well, it's not two separate things, but two separate ways of getting these stories back into the marketplace. The first one is, as you said, to actually find or give up the missing episodes themselves, so that we can have them restored. We can have all the lines of resolution put back in. We can have the sound brought up to speed and cleaned out and everything else, and then they can be shown as they were originally intended on our nice shiny new 4K HD TV sets, which is brilliant. And that is by far, I think any fan would agree, the best way to experience original Doctor Who. Actually, probably the best way to experience it is to watch it on a crappy little 625 line TV or something, really fuzzy, where you have to sort of bash at the sides, because then you don't notice all the joins on the string and the little cardboard sellotape bits and everything else. But that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously number two is to try and recreate these through some form of alternate media. So, like you said, we've had the tellysnaps, haven't we, for many years. And I remember. I don't know about you, mate, but I remember looking through the pages of Doctor Who magazine way back when they used to present these, almost like story by story or episode by episode. So you'd get like the Ice Warriors, as per the little tellysnaps. And I tell you what, there's just you've got to say this to those fans of the day. Just a massive thank you for doing that, because there are so many stories that we just would have no idea what they looked like. Because they weren't missing. They weren't to know that these things were going to go missing.
No.
These fans, right? And bear in mind, because I was thinking about this, bear in mind that in those days, in the 60s and early 70s, these episodes were only shown once. That was it. You might have got a repeat, like, for example, Evil of the Daleks was repeated. But those occurrences were rare and very, very few and far between. So you would literally be watching, like, the Reign of Terror with your camera pointed probably on a tripod or something with a little remote control zapper. And instead of actually watching the program, you would be snapping it every now and then. Obviously you're watching it, but you're concentrating on your photography, right? And you're also concentrating on your little recording, because I think some of these guys had a microphone or had the audio hardwired out from their back of their TV through some kind of gubbins. Bear in mind, no HDMI leads or anything like that. This is actual soldering iron stuff, right? Into the circuitry. Get the audio feed from the TV straight into your little cassette recorder, which was probably built in 1961 or something. So it wasn't even that great, by today's standards anyway. And these guys did that for themselves initially, but actually for future posterity, for us, and for many, for years and years and years. Those were the only glimpses we had of all those lost stories that the corporation threw in the skip from way back when. So I'd just like to say big round of applause to the likes of John Cura and all those other people who did that. Thank you so much. But of course, nowadays we can get, we've had a few of these, as you rightly pointed out, the animated episodes. So where they're restored using animation, cartoons, to the likes of me, Jeff. That's how I know this stuff. Doctor Who cartoons. And I don't know. I mean,
so dismissive.
No, do you know what? It's like So the first one of these came out, I believe it was the Invasion, right? Which is one of my all-time favourite stories. There you go. I have props, ladies and gentlemen. I'm lifting up DVD cases if you're looking at it on audio. So there you go. The Invasion, which is Pat Troughton's final Cyberman story, and it's an absolute cracker because that's one where the Cybermen come out of the sewers and march down the steps of St Paul's Cathedral and all that sort of stuff. But of course,
every time I drive past there,
you look at
in London, go, oh yeah, the Cybermen are there now. Think about the roof of St Paul's opening in one of the Capaldi stories.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's 8 episodes, right, in total, that story, and 2 of them missing, so 2 of them being reconstructed. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I watched that. Now, that first animation was done by Cosgrove Hall, and it's in very moody, stark 2D, very moodily lit, black and white, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Is this one that you've seen? Is this on your list of scenes?
A few, I've got that one at home.
Goodness, because I'm going to say, if you're gonna watch. If it's only one animation that you watch, it's got to be that one because it's the original and still, in my opinion at least, by far the best. I love it.
Yeah, it is really good. And, there's quite a few Troughtons that have been animated, haven't there? And, the Invasion is, obviously still partially complete. But, that's an absolutely cracking story.
Well, this is something else, isn't it? Because in like the first few animations, there's actually still quite a few of them. They're sort of filling in the gaps, right? So, a story exists maybe 4 out of 6 episodes, or in this case, 6 out of 8 episodes exist, and so they're animating just the occasional 1 or 2 or 3 here and there, or just 1 per story. But in recent years, we've seen complete animations. I mean, I think the first one of those. It might not have been the first, but one of the first ones I remember seeing was Power of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And so, I'm just looking on my list, actually. All of that has gone bar a few clips of Daleks coming through the factory and everything else. And I think a lot of these things tend to be the censored clips, the clips that were excised from the programme when it was shown overseas. So, for example, the BBC would sell to Australia. Right. The Australians would watch it and go, oh, mate, that's a bit gruesome. We'll cut that bit out. So they'd cut the tape, but they'd save that bit they'd cut for somewhere else. Then they'd lose the rest of it, but all they'd have left somehow would be that little clip that they cut out. So for years and years, all we ever saw was these little horrific clips of some of these stories and kind of clips that were, bits that were cut for sort of timing reasons as well. So it's like, it's Dalek production line just to cut down on a bit of time. But, with it restored, and okay, you can listen to it on audio, and I think that's great because a lot of these stories have been on audio format as well, so you can listen to the CD and whatever in the car. That's all cool, but to actually sit down and watch it, where you can kind of see what was kind of intended of the time. So I think a lot of these have taken their sort of colour palette as such, mostly black and white, but Power of the Daleks I think was one of the first ones that had a colour version as well, so you could watch it in black and white and get that same kind of mood and feel as the original might have done, or you can watch it in glorious 16:9 widescreen 4K or HD at least, and have all these beautiful vivid colours, and I think the Power of the Daleks it was the first one that did that. I could be wrong, tell me if I'm wrong and correct me, feel free.
I think it might have been, and because they've done that a couple of times in colour and black and white.
Well, since then, they have. So obviously, Evil of the Daleks came along.
What's your view? Because I sometimes see these kind of discussions about how accurately should they be, recreated? Should they try to do, the set design, the animation, the movement of the people, as it was based on what information's available, or should they take poetic license for things? I think there's no choice but to take some poetic license with it. You are making an animation after all, and a set may be only visible in a handful of photos, and not all the angles are going to be present. So I think basically the fact that we're getting this is better than nothing, because the BBC could easily go, as was the rumour a couple of years back, we're not going to do it anymore. Because let's be honest, it's quite niche, isn't it, to animate 60-odd-year-old missing stories, and people have moaned about the the style of the animation and stuff like that across them. But I think, it's the only way we're going to get them. Let's be honest, some of them, they're gone, I think. They're never coming back. So if we can have it animated and it's done decently, because a lot of these are made by very small, literally three or four people doing them. I think it's great that they're doing it.
I agree. Yeah, on the on the subject of creative license, I think you're right. I think in some cases there's no choice. You got the amount of material you've got to work with is quite scant. I mean, I think a few of them, looking at some of the documentaries on how they made them, they've got like the old set photographs, they've got the set designs, they've got the camera floor plan and stuff like that. So they got a reasonably good idea.
Yeah.
And obviously from a few tellysnaps and various set photographs that were taken at the time. So yeah, stuff like that they've got. But I think also it's an opportunity to kind of upscale some of those old episodes. I mean, for example, there's the two that really spring to mind are Fury from the Deep, another Pat Troughton story, and A Celestial Toymaker, which
came out
I think the third one of that. I mean, okay, so Fury from the Deep, when the Macra Terror as well, actually, which I think might have been the first one that kind of went a bit overboard or pushed that creative license beyond what we'd seen to date. So it presented a very sort of convincing, very widescreen alien planet with subterranean depths with the Macra in it and stuff like that. And Fury from the Deep, those shots of the interior and exterior of the refinery, were pretty fantastic. They look great in the animation. They fill my TV screen, which is what I want to see. And when you look at something like the most recent one today recording, The Savages is due out soon, but I think the last one we had was The Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah.
Now this one caused an absolute furor online because it seemed to go overboard with its creative license. So it went with 3D animation. It presented everything as a kind of as toys and dolls and it's. I think the internet literally divided into two camps, for and against, and there seemed to be no kind of middle ground of where anybody was really willing to reconcile. So it was quite interesting to see that, but the anger was just ridiculous. And and I actually watched this for the first time just a few weeks back. I kind of watched it just one episode at a time, which I think personally is the best way to watch old Doctor Who. You can try and watch 6 episodes of an old slow-moving TV program back to back, but I prefer to watch it one day or a few days between. Anyway, that's a sideway thing. So the Celestial Toymaker, I think it's extraordinary. It's there is one episode that exists, which is episode 4, and I watched that after I'd watched the animation, and it just seemed so empty. I mean, it's mostly a white space, right? The Doctor has been absent from the story for most of it because he was on a holiday. So he comes back and he kind of reappears, and it's him and the Toymaker and a robot and a screen, I think, and a Trilogic game. Sounds like a lot of things, but it's really not. It's clearly a very, very empty set, which is supposed to give the impression of a kind of infinite universe. So, this is a massive, massive universe that the Toymaker has, and he can populate it with whatever he likes. But of course, in the animation, that idea kind of expands upwards and outwards. The Toymaker grows. You remember when what was it the TV? What was it the bi-generation episode? I don't know what it's blooming called now. What's it called, Jeff? What's it called?
The Giggle.
The Giggle. There you go. When the Toymaker comes back, right, and he's kind of shown to be controlling strings like a big gigantic puppet or puppet master or something like that. So you get elements of this in the animation, which would never have been the case in the original 60s episode.
No.
And I think also what they're trying to do here is similar to the a lot of the colorization edits, which is try and bring a new audience into these old style, these old Doctor Who episodes, which for us old fans like me, grizzled and greyed and everything else, they're fine as they are, but for my kids and whatever, they're just not going to sit through it. As much as I would love them to, they're just not going to sit through, this without a huge amount of patience.
Yeah, I think Yeah, like I said, there's got to be a bit of poetic license to it, and when they've got that option to sort of do it in a way that kind of makes use of the medium, the technology now, and that canvas that it can be painted on now, then I kind of think, yeah, why not? Okay, fine. That wouldn't have happened in the actual thing back then. The toy maker wouldn't have grown and blah blah blah. But
Or if it did, it might have looked a little bit shonky.
it would have been a bit,
perhaps.
yeah. But they are trying to, make it work to keep people entertained. Bearing in mind, a lot of the old stuff is very slow, is not particularly visual, and is quite theatrical. People watch it.
It's quite static. A lot of it, isn't it? I think that's the thing, and that's all fine because that was TV at the time, and that kind of typifies those old school Doctor Who stories. But it's great when suddenly they're a little bit more dynamic. I mean, sometimes I think there's a danger where the visuals don't quite match the audio.
Yeah.
Right. But I can't really think of any place where that sort of happened. I think things have been largely pretty dynamic. They're pretty good. I was just thinking as well, something else that they've been doing with creative license within the animations is dropping in a few little Easter eggs. So, for example, one I can think of is the Faceless Ones. Yeah. Another Second Doctor story where they drop images of Sacha Dhawan's master into proceedings like "Have you seen this man?" and stuff like that, which I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's nice looking out for things like that.
Yeah, and it's
Magpie Electricals. That's another one they dropped into it as well. So obviously that's
the same one.
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's in a couple actually.
Right.
So yeah, that's always a lot of fun to see little things like that, and it kind of joins the modern series with the old. I think as well. I think a lot of people, a certain number of people, perhaps look at this and think it's sacrilege. How dare they? How very dare they do such a thing like that? But actually, I don't mind.
I
it's quite fun.
Don't think that happens in this.
You don't think that happens?
No.
It's a lovely fandom. There are lovely people all over.
All over. So I've seen the Moon Base, which is Troughton.
This is one of your favourites, isn't it?
Yeah, I do really like that. They're up there on the moon, the Cybermen, and it's quite a creepy, sort of very desolate feel to that episode. So yeah, I did really like that one. But yes, I have to admit, I haven't seen all that many of them because I said to you, Paul, a while ago, I'm not going to buy any more of them because
you're waiting for the collection.
Waiting for the collection.
Yeah, which is quite a good idea. But of course, you see, I'm a Steelbook fan. I do like a steelbook as well, but it makes it kind of collectible. But you're quite right, actually, and I'm in two minds whether or not to buy the Savages.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like I have to because I've got my steelbook.
So many, yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like I might just buy it for the sake of it because, like I said, the Abominable Snowman. I haven't watched it yet.
That's the thing. I think I knew if I bought them now, I wouldn't have sort of rushed to watch them particularly, and so I just thought I'll wait.
But then, how long are we going to be waiting for the collection of these seasons to come?
Well,
it seems like the release schedule has slowed a little bit.
But let's be honest, we've waited a long time anyway to be able to watch these. So what's another couple of years on it?
A couple of years, mate. I might be brown bread.
Well, maybe, but I'll watch it in your memory.
Well, thank you, Jeff. That's very, very kind of you. That's lovely.
I was also going to bring up there was a few 10th Doctor animations done a couple of years ago, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, there were.
And there's also a 4th Doctor animated version of Sharda, the infamous incomplete episode. So the 10th Doctor had Dreamland, and the Infinite Quest. Which were, I think Dreamland was him on his own, and that was going into a sort of Area 51 sort of Men in Black type thing, and the Infinite Quest, I think that had Anthony Stewart Head as the bad guy on it, and that had a slightly different animation style to Dreamland. But I remember they were both pretty good, kind of enjoyable. They're probably on iPlayer.
I think they are actually. Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched either of those. I don't think I watched all of the Infinite Quest. I think I started watching it and then just didn't. Just lost interest or whatever.
Yeah, it was fine, but it shows kind of how big the show was back then. That they were doing that as kind of
Yeah.
just extra stuff. I think they
Oh,
went out
exactly.
on maybe
Yeah.
CBeebies or something. As the 4 parts
Yeah, I
or
think it
something.
did. Actually, and that might have been what I saw it on, because I think Lucy was young enough for that to be a thing, or CBBC, I think it was, not rather than CBBS.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It's not
Being a little bit too young there for that, but I was going to say also, because you brought up Sharda, as you say, the one story that was never finished and yet exists in more formats than any other Doctor Who story, more versions than anything, which is typical Douglas Adams, to be fair. So it's like you think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There are so many different versions across different media, and they don't all share the same endings and same beginnings and the same middle. So it's quite a lot of fun to see that. But Sharda's quite an interesting one, because it isn't like there are no missing episodes as such. It's like there are missing scenes.
Yeah.
So you get this weird thing where it's like it's the Doctor. It's Tom Baker and Lala Ward and all the cast and everybody else in Paris and in primordial Earth and in the future on the prison ship and what have you, and then it cuts from live action to the animated action, which is the first time I watched it, it took a while for me to get my head into that space. And this is an interesting one as well, because this is where that argument between creative license and replicating what is seen on screen perhaps becomes a little bit more relevant or pertinent, perhaps. Because if the filled-in animated scenes are meant to flow from the filmed scenes, then they have to look the same, right? So they have to use the same set design, the same angles and same everything else. And it's quite interesting how they sort of blend these two things together and still manage to drop in a few Easter eggs into the animations. And the music helps as well, because I think on the animated Sharda track, or the recent release, it's a new soundtrack entirely by Mark Ayres. So it's so it doesn't suddenly stop at the end of the film insert and restart an animation, and there's no edit. It just goes all the way through. It's seamless, and I think that helps sell the transitions between film and animation and back again. So it's quite fun, and it's bizarre as well, sort of getting your head around looking at the characters, with as they were in 1970. 77, 78, whenever it was, and then looking at their animated avatars running around, doing the same things, and there are points where you can compare the two. So there's a prison cell that the bad guy Skagger is in, and in the animation it's kind of a little bit more stylized and a little bit more clean cut in the angles, and because when it cuts to the film insert, it looks like a studio set. Right, so and then of course you get K9 as well. Now K9 is quite dynamic in the animations, and there's lots of really nice angles on the laser guns firing against the lava creatures and what have you. But when it comes to the film bit, obviously K9 is still as static as he ever was. Yeah. So there's this weird sort of joining of those two different formats, and whether it works or not, I think is down to how far you're willing to go along with it, and just look at it as one seamless story that cuts from animation to film quite rapidly. And of course, sorry, before you start, of course it has an ending as well, which is a new ending with Tom Baker, as he is or as he was a few years back when it was done. When was it? 2017, wasn't it? So that's still what, seven or 8 years ago. And that brought a tear to my eye. So it's using the original script, because those words were written, scripted, but obviously never filmed. And Tom Baker finally got to film that final scene of Sharda, which even now is making me choke up just thinking about it, because it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it was
it's
really
just
nice,
brilliant. I love it. It's such, and I think this is something which is quite important to remember, or to bear in mind, is that the people working on these animations, they're Doctor Who fans, and a lot of them did it for literally a fraction of the money that the big animation or even a halfway the medium-sized animation house would charge.
Yeah.
These are small businesses, and there's a few of them actually left in business now.
Yeah.
Probably because they did the gig for the BBC and didn't get paid enough to pay everybody what they did. I don't know. That's a cynically commercial thing, but Planet 55, which did your the Moon Base and the 10th Planet, I don't think they're around anymore. Or the people have kind of split off and done their own things.
Right.
And I think there's been a few. I was looking on my list actually. I think Big Finish Creative have sort of helped out with a few, haven't they?
Yes.
Whether it's through financing and their own resource pool that they've
But that's
contributed.
That's separate to Big Finish Audio, isn't it? Because people thought that it was a division of them or something, but it's not. It's
No, it's not. There's quite a lot. Sun and Moon Studios with BBC Studios. Who else? Shapeshifter Studios. But yeah, the Big Finish Creative seems to be behind quite a few of these now. So they were behind the Celestial Toymaker, the Web of Fear, Fury from the Deep, and I think actually those are the ones where they've sort of pushed the boat out, pushed the creative aspect out a little bit, resulting in a furore of the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah.
Interesting, hey?
So have you got a favourite out of all of the ones that have been
I
done?
don't know, actually. I mean, I do, because the Invasion is still, for me, the first and the best. I just really like those angles, and I like that stark black and white animation that, it's very basic. It's only literally just looks like one step or two up from Flash animation.
Yes, it does, yeah.
But it seems to be so imbued with character and menace. It's brilliant. I love it. I don't think any of them have really come to. I think the Moon Base is close to that. Just looking down the list, I think the Reign of Terror. Actually, now this is one that tends to be forgotten about, but because I don't know. This is a very weird one because again, it's only 2 episodes out of 6 that have been animated, but some of the animation now, again, some of the backgrounds are absolutely gorgeous.
Really?
So this is revolutionary Paris that this adventure happens in, with lots of shots of Madame Guillotine and Napoleon and various other things, the whole French Revolution thing, because it kind of bookends. It ends series 1 of Doctor Who, and in Unearthly Child, Susan Foreman is reading a book on the French Revolution. So at the end of the series, they end up in the French Revolution. So it's a nice little kind of bookend to that series. But, I mean, it tends to get kind of... there's a lot of negativity thrown at the Reign of Terror. It almost tends to get forgotten about. But it's pretty gorgeous. A lot of the animations, some of the facial animations are maybe a little bit shonky, but the backgrounds... gorgeous. They're lovely, so I quite like that. The Power of the Daleks is probably another one of my favourites. Actually, I prefer it to Evil of the Daleks. I think Evil has been talked about so much over the years, and again, it's a story that I've probably become quite familiar with over time. But the Power of the Daleks hasn't been or wasn't a story I was that familiar with until I watched it in animated form, because I think it tends to be overshadowed by the kind of epicness of Evil of the Daleks. It's like the final battle. It was supposed to be the final confrontation between the Doctor and the Daleks. We have Skaro, Return to Skaro. We've got the Emperor Dalek. We've got a civil war breaking out. There's the whole thing with the Daleks acting like trains. There's the time travel aspects. The way it kind of picks up from the end of the previous adventure, the Faceless ones, with the TARDIS being taken away on the back of a van and stuff like that. So it is a very epic adventure. But I much prefer the Power of the Daleks to Evil of the Daleks, and I think really because it's not so much the animation as much as the actual story itself. Because Power of the Daleks it exposes a real horror at the heart of humanity. It's like, here's a bunch of people isolated on a colony, and everything seems to be okay at the start of it, and it kind of is, until the Daleks arrive, or until the Daleks are kind of revived, if you like, from whatever's left of a crashed space capsule. But what the Dalek presence does is it brings out the worst of the human people on the colony, and the death count is off the scale. I don't think there's anybody apart from the Doctor who survived. There might be 1 or 2 people who survive at the end of it, but it's a brutal story. It is unforgiving in the way it treats humanity's predilection or ability to be selfish and controlling and dominating, and the power of certain individuals to make sure that a certain outcome of events is managed to, so the outcome they want is kind of managed, and it's quite horrific, and I think very relevant, given given what it always seems to be happening somewhere in the world. That's quite a dark thing, but it is a really dark story, and it's not a nice story at all. It doesn't have a happy ending. There's no happy moral to be gained from watching it. I think the way I felt at the end of it was, thank God the Daleks exterminated everybody, because they were just nasty, whereas the evil of the Daleks, despite its title, seems to be more about the kind of more positive side of humanity, the fact that our ability to find friendship and forge relationships and find love and all of that sort of stuff is instilled within the Daleks as a kind of human factor, and changes the way they behave. So they're no longer the kind of ruthless sort of killers and exterminate everything that we've seen. We see a whole new side to the Daleks. So it's quite interesting looking at those two together. And of course, in both, probably in the Evil of the Daleks, the animation again is just superb. In Evil of the Daleks, I watched it in colour because I kind of have to. Same with Power of the Daleks. If it's in colour, I'm going to watch it in colour. And there's the inside of this Victorian house in Evil of the Daleks, where the floor tiling is like a mosaic pattern on the floors. It's gorgeous. It's really, really nice. And that's a big thing, marveling at the excellence of the animation is enough in itself to make me love these things.
Yeah. Like I said, I think having them is better than not. And
absolutely, I'd much rather watch that than than a list of tellysnaps, the old photos. Great that they're there, and for a while, like I said, that was all we had.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to load up a 6-episode, I remember the Ice Warriors on VHS, and it was great that they sort of had this semi-restoration. They'd assembled the tellysnaps of one of the missing episodes, or both missing episodes, and managed to put the audio over it, so it felt a little bit like continuation of the story, and I think they've done it on the Web of Fear as well. So the Web of Fear has part 3 missing, and you can watch it either as the animation or as the sort of tellysnap reconstruction. And it's a killer as well, because that one is when the Brigadier first appears, or Colonel Lethbridge Stewart as he was then. So that we'd never seen that, so we can only watch it in animation. So it's just it's one of those things. I'm sure somebody's holding on to that just because they can.
Because they can. Well,
maybe then, I don't know.
You never know.
That's the old conspiracy theory again, isn't it?
You never know. But for anyone who's watching or listening, let us know what you think of the animations. Like we're sort of saying, there's quite a few, quite a big range of opinions on them, and I'd be really interested to hear what your favourites are, what you think of them, and what also you think they might do with the collection, going forward. Whether you think they'll, wait to animate everything before putting them in, or maybe they'll do a collection and it'll have, for a Troughton one or something, it'll have an exclusive animation that you can only get on there or something.
Ooh, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Maybe they might do that as a sort of
that'd be kind of cool. Just have to point out as well, actually, there is, and because I have to mention this, there is a brilliant animation on the Wheel in Space, which is by Is Skinner, and I believe they had a chat with the BBC about reconstructing this. So this is Zoe Herriot's first story, and again, it's a Cyberman story, and it's not a story I've ever really enjoyed. I read the novelisation years ago, and thought, it's a bit boring, to be honest. It goes on a lot, but I have to say, watching it alongside, watching it on YouTube, watching this fan-made YouTube animation, it was extraordinary. And I think the guys who made it, they were involved in a previous animation as well. I should probably call it up actually, so I can look at it properly. And they did this one, the Wheel in Space, using a lot of motion capture in their living room, right, in their own house.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right? Motion capture cameras set up some pretty funky software on the computers and everything else, and painstakingly, just did all this stuff to and worked on the textures in the graphics and all graphic engines and all of that stuff, and they've got all the missing episodes of Wheel in Space, mash it to the audio, and it's phenomenal. It is brilliant. But apparently they took it to the BBC, right? And the BBC told them, no. It's very, very good. Yeah, it's very good. But of course, no. Doctor Who fans don't want 3D animation because it's in 3D, right? Using mocap and some face kind of thing. So, but it doesn't matter. Not to me.
If they've done it, just
put it on the disc.
Yeah,
Come on,
buy
BBC.
it. Yeah,
Don't be a bunch of knobs about this. Get Is Skinner's Wheel in Space animation out there right now. Come on, do it. You know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because those episodes are never going to show up. Let's be honest.
No, I don't think a lot of it is. No. Well, I'm looking forward to watching more of the animated episodes in the future. I do feel a bit like I should check them out, but I can't get hold of them all right now. But they'll be there at some point.
They'll be there at some point.
Yeah.
Just quite interesting as well is just got to say this one because this one surprised me is the Underwater Menace. Right now, the Underwater Menace again. It has a couple of missing episodes, and it was almost like actually, I think So anyway, it was the last story to be released on DVD, and it almost wasn't released on DVD. So there's a bit of a campaign going, right, to get this final story released because I think Annika Wills, who plays Polly, the Doctor's companion in one of the Doctor's companions in that story. She was behind it. She was saying she'd already recorded a commentary for it, and so everything was kind of there. So some special features had been kind of made for it, and it was taking forever. It looks really genuinely like it was never going to come out on DVD. So eventually it did come out on DVD, and of course I snapped it up and I watched it. And the missing episode was a reconstruction, and it's great. It's fine, And then suddenly along comes an animated version of it as well, right? Now, okay, there's a few years in between both of those events, right? But I must admit, I was surprised to see the animated version of it because, there is only a few missing episodes of it, but all of the episodes have been animated, even though some of them exist. Again, like the Celestial Toymaker, right? So episode 4 exists, but how all 4 episodes have been animated. Yeah, so
I think that's quite good. Rather
you
than,
can watch the whole thing without that
in that style, like you said earlier about
without being disjointed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's quite good doing that. Yeah, I'd like that. I think.
So I would love it if someone went back and did the whole of the Invasion as an animation, all 8 episodes, but staying with that Cosgrove Hall style that they established. So
but
they're a lot of fun. I do love these.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, it's great that we've got them. So
absolutely.
Well, brilliant. I've enjoyed listening to talk about those, and there's something exciting for me. Down the line.
So much to look forward to.
Check out the rest of them. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. Oh, one more thing.
I was going to say we could do a first time.
Yeah, we could do actually.
We could do the Abominable Snowman because there's not that many episodes, that many Doctor Who stories where it would be like a first time. But actually, this would be one of them.
Let's
first
do that,
time
then.
watch.
Okay, we'll do that. Is it on iPlayer, that one?
I believe it is actually.
Okay,
so you don't even have to buy it.
Okay, well we'll do that then.
I bought it for both of us, mate. Don't you worry.
Well done.
It's the kind of guy that I am. You're lucky to have friends like me, Jeff.
I know, yeah,
hey?
absolutely.
Hey.
Right, well on that, thanks for watching and listening, and do give us a like and a subscribe and a retweet and all of that sort of thing.
All of that stuff.
The more engagement we get,
the more of these we can do.
Everything, the more of these we can do. So yeah, please, if you even vaguely,
it makes us feel worthy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
just like howling into the void otherwise.
Yeah. Do let us know that you're listening and that you're out there. So we will catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner podcast.
Bye for now.
TTFN.